realized that it's been something like 4 to 5 months since I've cut my hair. It's definitely letting itself be known to me that it's been a little bit too long. The first sign of something wrong is the left side of my head. So I've been commenting lately how it's been not behaving so well. And I've gone through an entire reset. I've done a clarifying chelating shampoo. I've done a hair mask, and it's still misbehaving. So that's a good sign to me that it's time for a haircut. On top of, your normal signs like it's been a long time. As well as I'm getting split ends and my hair is knotting and tangling more easily. I'm doing something a little bit different this time. I'm not going to go in and do one of the more viral haircuts where you just throw your hair up in a ponytail and then, well, you're done. This one's a little bit different in the sense that it's going to take a little bit more time and energy, but it's really good for a few reasons. One of which is going to help maintain the length if you're trying to grow your hair out. It's going to help maintain the shape. And then this one is actually also going to help with a lot of maintenance to some extent of the baby hairs that are growing out that aren't quite as long as everything else, as well as maybe some of those that have been caused by breakage. So let's go ahead and get into this. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Lena and welcome to my bathroom. And if you do like content like this, please do like and subscribe. It helps me out a ton. Like I said, this is going to take a little bit longer, which is okay in my book because it's going to help give me that shape that I still have. It's going to maintain it. It's going to maintain the length because I do really want to grow my hair back out to the really long length that I used to have it at. I keep accidentally cutting it too short and I am done with it. So I'm going to walk you through this. The first thing, what do we really need for this? We need some sort of water bottle for water. We're going to dampen our hair down. We're going to do this damp. Hairbrush to remove any knots and tangles. On that same note, some sort of leave-in conditioner. For this particular routine, I'm going to use the Trelix and Tie the Knot leave-in conditioner. And then, of course, we need some hair cutting scissors. I definitely recommend actual hair cutting scissors over kitchen shears, crafting scissors, whatever have you. And then the last thing we're going to need is just some sort of clip or several of them to help section your hair, because in this particular routine, sectioning is key. So let's go ahead and get into this. First step in this lovely routine is to section the hair. Now I'm kind of going to section it how I normally do when I style my hair, just because it works well for me. The sectioning doesn't really matter at this point because we're actually going to go in and do further sectioning anyway. So, and now I have this bottom section left down here, and I am going to go in and wet this down. I'm going to either skip this or fast forward through this because this is one of what takes me the longest. So I'm just going to go in with a little bit of leave-in conditioner here, and what this is going to do is it's going to help detangle my hair as well as just make it easier to work with, I guess. Oh my gosh, this stuff smells so good. This is one of my favorite leave-in conditioners purely for the scent of it, and I am so ready for fall. I don't know about y'all, but I am just so ready for it. So that's why I chose this, is because I'm in the fall mood and it smells like fall. I'm going to go in with a brush just to make sure that it's truly all tangle free, because that's going to be really important for just about any haircut. So this is where the further sectioning comes in play. Yeah, it's really important for this. We want the tiniest pieces you can get away with doing. So I'm going to come in here on this tiny itty bitty little piece. We're going to kind of twirl it. Now this is where it gets kind of tricky, because what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to come in on this one particular strand. This one is probably a lot of damage because it's in the back. This tends to do a lot of damage for me, so this is actually going to be kind of tricky. And I'm just going to cut off what looks like there's not much there. To be honest, I may have actually overdone the water. You might actually want to do this on your hair dry. Let's try this. Okay, so that's going to give me a little more information here. So I kind of intentionally did that. You can see where things are kind of splitting off. This isn't exactly what I meant to do, but this is going to work for now. So you can see how it's kind of split off. I'm going to come in and kind of trim the ends of a lot of these. That was not a very good example. I'm going to see if I can find a better example here of what it is I'm actually trying to accomplish. All right, there we go. This one is going to be a little better, I think. Yeah, that's going to be better. So what I've done is I've twisted this. You see how there's lots of these kind of hairs sticking out because those are just different lengths. So what I'm going to do very carefully is come along here and kind of just again, like I said, very carefully because we don't want to cut length off here. We're just cutting these ends that are sticking out. And we are going to come down here on the bottom as well. And one little one here. Ah! Damn it. That's what I meant by be careful. Okay, we're going to come in here down at the bottom and take that much off. That was why we have to be careful. Go slow, take your time. If you wear glasses, wear glasses. I do kind of twist these a little bit because that's going to help these pieces kind of stick out so you can see them better. And what this is going to do is just help with kind of these regrowth sections that sometimes we get. They have to go down to the entire length of your hair in order for them to get trimmed. And I feel like sometimes, especially with finer hair types or more damaged hair types, by the time it gets down to the bottom, it's already just done. And that's why you're having a hard time maintaining length to some extent. So taking off some of those bits that are still growing out is going to be helpful. Not only that, but if you are causing breakage in your hair, say you wear a ponytail a lot, that breakage bit, when it breaks off, when it snaps, is more likely to get split ends. But again, if you're waiting until that hair that breaks here grows out to here, that split is going to go all the way up. So by doing this kind of dusting type of deal, what we're doing is we're just ensuring that we're getting some of those split ends that are kind of higher up in our hair, especially if you do have a lot of breakage. One of the keys here is just really going in small sections. That's part of why this takes a decent amount of time. It's because we have to be patient with ourselves, patient with our hair. Because if you go in with too big of a section, you're going to end up with kind of choppy bits. This is mostly the same length throughout, other than some of them stop a little higher up. I'm going to actually come in down here a little bit more. And you don't have to go all the way up to the shortest bit because that's just going to end up making it look more choppy. So I'm going to take this strand now that I've taken that end off and do a twist. And we're going to just come in and clean up these scraggly. For me, especially on the underside, this is so important. And I've actually done this in the past for this exact reason. And I've noticed that when I haven't been doing it lately, the underside of my hair suffers. I end up getting a lot more frizz. All of those frizzy bits, those are not growing out with the rest of my hair. They're damaged. They're causing that frizz on the bottom side of my hair. So I'm just very carefully, gently trimming those off. Now it's hard to get way up here, especially on yourself. Don't cut your face. So I'm just not going to go up that high. If you feel more comfortable doing that, you can. So what I'm also doing is I'm running my finger down and I'm feeling where there's damage. So when I run my hand down the length of my hair, I can feel. So that feels much healthier. So really quickly, I'm deciding how much to take off by kind of the majority of where this goes, and then where it starts to become sparse is where I'm going to cut it off. So you can kind of see right about there is where it's getting a little bit sparse. So I'm just going to trim that off. And I am learning really quickly here that a big factor is you want it damp but not soaking wet, because if you get it too wet, these frizzy bits aren't going to stick out, and then it's going to make them harder to trim. And this is where it gets really hard because this varies in length so much throughout. So I don't want to go to where it's the bulk of it, but I also don't want to leave a lot of it that's just scraggly. So I'm kind of coming in here. You can see that even though I'm going to end up taking about probably an inch off of the longest piece, there's like one strand there, so trim. But you can kind of see on some of these very short pieces up here, this one specifically has a really bad split end. And if I wasn't doing this dusting technique, that would stay because it's not matching the length of my hair. Just make sure that the bulk of your hair is still in this kind of section of it, so we're not taking off too much density, because we don't want to take out density and make our hair look really sparse on the ends. Okay, and then this is where the sectioning comes in really handy, is we're going to go ahead and tuck away what we've already done. This is where, especially if you have layers, you may want to kind of pull it away first before trimming the ends of it. Because if you pull it down, you see how that looks like this piece is much shorter than these. But because I have layers, if I pull it more to the side first, it looks a little bit more even. So that might just be something you want to keep in mind if you're doing this. Okay. Just matching up your layers on the ends there. If you have this piece here that falls out, like I have going on, kind of like that one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to kind of keep it in there and trim this bit here. And then in order to keep myself from accidentally trimming this too short, so I've already trimmed the tip of it, it looks like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and curl this tight above it, trim these ones up here, slowly release. I don't have a ton over here. A little more. There's a couple more here. Release a little more. And I can see it's starting to fall out now. So I'm just going to try to avoid it. You can even at this point kind of bring it down so we can focus on this. Another option is you just let it all fall out and deal with it separately. So what I mean when I say squiggly one is obviously like my hair has this, can you see that kind of S shape to it? But you can see how beyond just that like big S, there's kind of little tiny wavy bits in there, little squiggly bits. That's actually damage. That's not my hair's texture. So those need to come off because that's damage. I'm actually going to split the top into two sections, just partially so I can actually see. Now, all of these pieces, last time I cut them, were cut pretty much straight up, so that's what I'm doing, is just pulling it straight up. So at the ends I can maintain the general shape of them. Okay, so now that we're on the last strand, I'm kind of going to do a summary of the things I've learned through this. So first is just keeping in mind if you have layers, direct it in the direction of your layers. These are face framing pieces, so I'm pulling them to the side the way I cut them. The rest of them I cut more up or kind of out to give it that more layer look. Another thing is that, let's see, I'll come in here and trim this really quick. When we're doing this twist, I like to start twisting it tight, and then you're going to come in with your scissors and come alongside it. If you come alongside it, instead of trying to trim it like this, you're going to get more quicker. And then what the doing it tight is going to do is you can kind of slowly release it. And that's going to twist more of it towards you so that you can get more of those pieces instead of having to try to maneuver in all sorts of weird ways. Less is always more. Start off with less, go in at more if you need it. Really, I'm hyper focusing on pieces that I just see that look damaged to me. Other than that, I'm just leaving them be if they're not looking too damaged. So this is where we are at. I don't think it really looks that different, to be honest. So I'm going to have to style it and come back and see what we think as the final results. I probably won't style it for a little while. If you're curious how long that took me, it took me about an hour. Things did get quicker as I got further along, especially once I figured out the angle thing, going along the angle of your hair alongside it. That way you're also less likely to actually cut the bulk of your hair. So I will be back after I have styled it and we'll see if this was a huge mistake or not. My daughter is awake, so I have to go. I did cut my hair yesterday and then I got around to washing it today. And then it's been a little while since I styled it. It's completely dry now. I have not fluffed it up yet. That is because there's a few things I want to touch on before I show you my final results. Because to me, some of these things are almost just as important as the final results. So the first thing is that it just feels better. It's not a huge surprise, but it's definitely a good thing. And it's funny because it was one of those situations where I didn't really feel like my hair felt that bad. It still felt fine to me until I cut it, and now it feels better. So there's that. The next thing is that I left it down yesterday after I cut it, and I was actually able to run my fingers through it throughout the rest of the day. Normally, at least recently, if I do that, my hair will not entangle so easily, and it didn't this time around. And then the last thing is that when I was styling it earlier, it was actually a lot easier to style. As of late, I've definitely felt like I go in with my products, I go in with my brush to define, and I've almost been fighting it to make it do what I want it to do. And this time around, it was just so easy. I could have easily cut 5 minutes off of my styling routine. So the last video I did was the Twist by Ouidad product review. I decided to go in with the same products this time around so we can kind of see a little more easily what we think, if it made any difference or not. So I'm going to fluff my hair, and because I did this last time I washed my hair as well, I'm going in with a little oil. Y'all will have to let me know what your thoughts are down in the comments below, and if you noticed a difference or not, if you think my hair looks better after giving it this cut. I am happy to say that I maintained the volume that I had last time. I know that was something I had commented on, was how happy I was at the volume. I feel like things clumped together more nicely. I feel like I got a little bit more shrinkage, especially over here on the left side that I've been struggling with a lot lately. It looks much better. My thoughts and recommendations. So I personally wouldn't say that I'd recommend this every single time you cut your hair for a couple reasons, one of which is just that it is time consuming. This took me about an hour to an hour and a half to do on myself, and that's just too much. Now, as I got through it, I did get quicker. So once you learn those different tips and tricks and things like that, it might improve the time a little bit, but it is just a little bit longer. Not only that, but I feel like there is a lot of room for error here. There was definitely one time where I cut just a huge chunk out of the bottom of my hair, and that's not ideal. Other thoughts too, though, is it's much easier to end up with kind of a choppy appearance to your hair. With my hair, it's pretty textured, and I almost always just wear it textured, and that makes it so that it hides any kind of choppiness. That being said, I did have my husband check it for me to look at the back of it to see how it looked. It maintained its shape very well, even when relatively straight, and it didn't look very choppy. I'll leave a picture here for you to look at. That is the benefit, though, of taking smaller sections to really make sure you don't end up with that choppy appearance. That being said, if you are someone who's trying to grow out your hair, this was really good because I don't feel like I lost any length at all, but I definitely took off the damage at the ends. I can feel it. But if you are someone who's trying to grow out damage, especially, this could be beneficial because going through and trimming and dusting those pieces that have broken off could help you transition just a little bit faster. I wouldn't recommend doing this every single time. It just takes too long, but you could do this in sections. You could do this in chunks. So if you are someone who wears hats a lot, someone who wears hoods a lot, or you just wear your hair down a lot and you have a lot of damage to the top layer, you could just hyper focus on that top layer and only do the very, very ends on the bottom. And then vice versa. So for me in the future, if I was starting to have that problem with the frizz on the bottom because the bottom sections are getting damaged, but the top sections aren't too bad, I could hyper focus on the bottom section, trim those ends, go in and dust these, and then not dust the rest of it. It is kind of a bummer doing this on yourself because it's hard to get too close to your head because you can't see it, and it's harder to get high up in the back. So this might be something that you could ask a friend to help you with, or you could kind of swap. You do theirs, they do yours, those kind of things. Overall, I'm just very happy with the way that this went and how it looks, and the fact that it still just looks the same. It looks exactly the same, just healthier. If you liked this video, please do like and subscribe. I do this kind of content, DIY haircuts and things like that, as well as just your typical wavy curly hair content, how I style my hair, products and things like that. I do try to post a video every single Friday. That being said, I'm currently in kind of a every other week phase. I'm trying to get back into a weekly, but I will at least make sure to get them out bi-weekly. And hopefully I will see you next time.